Oh, what up, guys and girls? It is Bobby.
And Sean,
And we're back, baby!
we're back. So many backs to back.
What-
This is the October. It's October. This is the October
It's
back
Halloween.
version.
It's Halloween.
Yeah, it's Halloween.
But this is like the first legitimate we're back. We're back in a while, so we're back.
Yeah, we're back, and it's Halloween, so we're gonna have like very spooky talks, like how I'm not dressing up for it, I'm not putting candy out for it, I'm not
What?
contributing to the obesity epidemic in this country. That's my excuse for not having picked up candy. I feel like I'm just gonna take the moral high road there and say it's because of that I'm not contributing, but I was just too lazy to purchase candy this year.
We stopped at Costco yesterday and we bought full-size candy bars, so I'm gonna be that house.
Oh, you're gonna be the dope house. That's awesome.
We did this last year, but then like I think I was working and Christina like didn't want to hang out at Christmas or hand out Halloween candy. So we put it all in like in a bucket and like left it outside. And like the first group of kids that came by took them all. So
100%.
fucking
100%.
savages,
A buddy of mine sent
selfish
me
buddy
a
fucks.
news clip of someone. Oh, absolutely. But someone was warning that some houses had candy that looked exactly like candy but contained weed. And I'm sitting there going, where? Just direct me. I'll go buy a costume. I'll show up at that house. Who is this patriot that is doing the benefit of God? Like I find those stories to be so comical. There's no way they could be true, yet a bunch of boomers probably fall for it every single year.
Dude, speaking of weed and Halloween, so the other when was this? This was like last month or something. I was like coming home, and then on my driveway there was like a piece of like a wrapper or some trash. So like I went to go pick it up because of a driveway. It was a little plastic baggie that said "Trick or Treat" on it. So I came inside and opened the baggie, and guess what was inside the baggie?
Weed.
Yeah,
Like a gummy candy version or
no,
just
like
straight to
straight
bud?
weed, like probably half a gram of weed.
Wow, that's like one of those things though. Is it laced with anything?
Who
Was someone
knows?
dropping this off particularly for you, or did some idiot just drop it out of his bag?
I mean, like, it's like it says "Trick or Treat" on it, so like I imagine like maybe it's some like promotional thing, but there wasn't like a phone number or anything on it. Also, like I don't know if drug dealers are really a thing anymore because you can just walk to like the dispensary and just buy weed legally too. So it's like strange. Christina wouldn't smoke it, so I can't tell you exactly what's in it. So
Yeah, that's a
Christina
very
refuses.
safe way to approach your career. I guess you can't send it in the mail either for me to test it, so no luck there because the federal government, thanks Obama, hasn't legalized it. But
Let's go, Brandon.
yeah, let's go. Oh my God, I'm blown away by how polarized we are as a country right now. And clearly it's always been that way, but social media has just made it 10 times worse because I feel that individuals only do those cheers because they know that it's going to get up on Instagram or Meta. Is that we're going to start coining it Meta now for Mark Zuckerberg? It's just going to be on social media. So are people just acting like assholes because they know that it's going to make some, Barstool Sports, House of Highlights, you name it, type popular opinion sports network, and they'll have like a 5 second, claim to fame? Do you think like that's why we're getting more polarized, because we're getting likes from it?
I think so. I mean, there's always, a I guess attention seeking aspect to it. I just think it wasn't nearly as apparent, back when social media wasn't as big because people just did stuff because it was funny or whatever. But now it's just like you can get the fake internet points, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. Get those likes, get those subscribes, and get some more social clout.
Yeah, but Instagram has been blocking that kind of stuff. The last couple weeks, I've been doing research on how Instagram blocks people from posting, where they don't allow you in some geographic settings to repost through a story your Instagram post. For those of you that followed us, we had an issue with posting. We're still having an issue with posting that I'm seeing,
Yeah.
where our account isn't allowed to put up photos. We can still run stories, which is whatever, but I don't know how we've triggered the Instagram algorithm of protecting the community. I guess Instagram doesn't want us to be a fit promoter, but I don't know how we've entered this realm of censorship. We've been censored.
Well, we have been shadow banned previously on Instagram that I've noticed before, where like, you know, if you like tried searching us, you couldn't find us on like the explore page or whatever, and you had to like manually type in Cronus Fit to like find us. So that's been there before, but the whole like or Instagram posting is new, which I was not really don't really know why either, besides the fact that it's like military related and there's like guns in the pictures. So maybe the algorithm or the AI flagged us because we have guns. I don't know.
It's not like we got a good reason from Instagram. It just happened and there's no good way to report it. I also feel weird talking about it because the only other people I see that talk about it are asshole Instagram clout chasers, the ones that are saying, guys, I've been shadow banned. I haven't posted this really sexy picture of me from Mallorca on my last, global trip. It's like, I just wanted to post that you were supposed to do 50 burpees today as a warm up. So go find a barbell and get to work. Like I feel stupid talking about it. I feel like I'm just creating noise out of nothing for the sake of it.
Well, I mean, they have like the Instagram news accounts, like the Atlas News and the what was the other popular front? Those like two Instagram accounts that have also been shadow banned and on like the verge of getting banned for like posting those accounts.
Yeah, I guess it just goes to, I guess people are trying to do better with private companies censoring what gets out there in the wake of the last year and a half. But why us? We're just a simple, we're just about integrity. You need more integrity. That's where you come to Cronus Fit. You want to find out that you need to run more because you want to be better at running your 2 mile. We'll tell you need to run more. I'm not going to tell you can get away with getting on an elliptical for 15 minutes and thinking you're doing something because you're not.
Speaking of working out, I'm taking the ACFT again this week.
Gonna get a 600 finally?
Dude, I don't know, man. It's pretty hard to get 600. I think the last one was like a 594. The first one was like a 595 or something. It's always like a couple points here and there that just add up. Very hard.
I think the ACFT, I'm glad they're doing it. I saw recently that they're re-looking at the height weight standards and coming out with like a new tape test. Or can you teach me what the point of the height weight tape test was? Because I just feel if you're too fat to pass the PT test, that should be it. Why do we even have a height weight standard? It seems like it's arbitrary. If you can just look at a soldier and say you are fat, like especially with the new dress uniforms where you have that belt, those uniforms are sexy. My buddy just retired after 24 years. He looked so goddamn hot in his dress uniform. He's an SF dude, so he's got a whole bunch of chest candy, that helps, but the uniform looks so good on him. And I feel like you can't look fat in that uniform. Like it's impossible because you look like a cupcake. It'll muffin out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the height and weight I imagine is probably like a carryover from like Vietnam era or something like that. I think I truly don't know why it matters because your boy gets tape tested every time. But clearly I'm like one of the more fit individuals in, MedCom right now. So who knows? I don't quite know.
I think someone just wants to put their hands on your lats and your chest. I would tell you had to get taped before I even saw you step on a scale.
It's pretty awkward. Like the NCOs are taping me, like kept like chatting to me about like my tattoos and stuff. And it's like, it's kind of strange.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
you. I don't know
Nothing
you.
to do with health. It has everything to do with how good looking you are.
Very strange. They're like, "Oh, sir, you're getting tape tested. You look pretty big to be getting tape tested." I'm like, "Just fucking tape. Just tape me. I really don't want to talk about this. Just tape me. Get this over
You know
with."
what you should do, because it's annoying to tape yourself, and I'm not talking about taping your waist, but I would have used that time to get a read on your biceps, your quads. Uh,
Oh yeah.
that's where you use that's a professional service. And then the next time you take the ACFT and you've been really crushing our Get Big programming, now you have quantifiable data you can track. So what I'm advocating is go get tape tested. Don't be fat and get tape tested. Be jacked and get tape tested. And then you can look back and see your actual physical growth. That is the purpose of the tape test, my friends.
Dude, I have gained like probably like 5 or 6 pounds being on nights and like a like good weight. Being on nights, we have a gym. I told you we have the gym in the hospital now, right? So I
Yeah,
was like
you're just
working
not
out
moving
like
cadavers.
yeah, like working out like every day when I was on nights because there was like an hour and a half to 2 hour time period or time block that's like free essentially between like the point where I sign out the patients and then I have like a morning meeting with the staff. So I have like an hour and a half every morning. So I would go down and work out like every morning. That's pretty sweet.
Are you finding that? I mean, clearly you're the best looking and most fit doctor there. But when I remember watching Scrubs growing up, who was the chief resident that was like the dick? It's like kind of redheaded, curly hair. I think he was in Platoon.
Oh, I don't. I know you're.
Kellogg.
I like can
I,
picture. I can't remember her name.
I can picture him. Looking back on that, he was in great shape. Like that dude had a great physical form. So I wonder if subconsciously, because now you're gaining some rank in the medical community at the hospital, are you that guy? Are you that tough, good-looking, fit older doctor now that a whole bunch of this anecdote would have been so much better if I knew the characters' names on Scrubs. I apologize, listeners, but the other Scrubs look up to and go, I fear him, yet I want to be him.
I have a not to like jerk myself off. I do kind of feel like there is an element of that. Oh, John C. McGinley, Dr. Cox.
Yes, Dr. Cox. Yeah,
Not to like
good
jerk
looking
myself
dude.
off, but I think there's a component of that because like it didn't used to be that people used to work out at like work, but I don't know if this is a reflection of the fact that there's a gym now at the hospital. But like, like starting this year when the hospital gym opened up, I worked out like at work and like would go at work and work out. And now all the interns are started working out as well, and it's like a thing now where people go to work out, and then I don't know, I can't help but feel it. I'm in, you know,
You're
increasing.
getting people to the gym. You know what it also is? You don't know it, but you are the version of the CST to a Ranger platoon, because all the interns are trying to work around their schedule to go to the gym when Dr. Bobby's there. Just like you'd be like, hey, where's first squad? Oh, the CST's at the gym. All right, they're at the gym. All right, cool. Cool, guys. Like, I didn't want to do any training with you today. Like, yes, go to the gym at that hour. You're Dr. Bobby, parentheses, CST.
I will take that as a compliment. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like jerk myself off. I don't know. I don't like sound like that, but I definitely, am increasing the motivation of the interns at least.
You're increasing the lethality, but not in a bad way for the patients. We should put a caveat in there.
It's in a good way for patients. I gotta work out.
Yeah, in
that
a good way for
stress.
patients.
Yeah.
Stronger forearms for clamping down on broken bones, resetting eyeballs. I don't know.
Two different specialties that are not related to general surgery, but okay.
I don't know. If I need any of that kind of work done, I'm only calling you. I'm not going to go see a specialist when I've got a doctor on the board.
Yeah, it's been a night sucked because it's like I completely reverse cycled, which like isn't too bad. I will say, like thanks to the army, reverse cycling is not nearly as bad as I imagine for other people it is.
Yeah. I definitely thought that like on the deployments to be like, oh, this is so nice. It's dark out, and then like switching back only takes like a day or two. Um, but not to get off topic from the height and weight, what system would be better than the one we currently have? Because are there ways to do mass scale testing of like the body fit fat pod or the electronic shoot, electrodes through your body and get a result back through gripping some Scientology like poles?
So I think the reason why the tape test is there is that it is very fast and readily available to anyone to get tape tested. So which is like, which is like the rationale for the old APFT, is that you could go do push-ups, sit-ups, and run anywhere, anywhere in the world. I think that's the same
Except
rationale.
apparently on army bases.
So I think that was like kind of the rationale behind the tape test, is that you could do it for guys, your neck and your waist, and for females, your bust, your waist, and your hips, or whatever. So like it's really relatively quick, and then it's like I don't think it's very accurate, but like it's not terribly inaccurate somehow, through some whatever anthropomorphic measurements or whatever. The only thing is, like, if you were to like use the electrodes, which is also not very accurate, but it's more accurate than doing like two measurements, whatever. That's like another way, but then you'd have to have that equipment available, and then it's like takes time. So of all like the methods, I think that's probably the fastest. The other thing you do is probably like calipers, and like calipers are like can be relatively more accurate depending on which model you use. But it's all like different, standard errors of measurement that are involved with these tests.
Well, I don't think money should be an issue. I mean, we spent $8.5 million apparently for a couple of homes in the Austin area for a bunch of senior officials for I don't know what command is down in Austin,
Futures Command.
Texas. Futures Command?
That's a sweet job.
What is Futures Command?
I don't quite know.
We're creating new shit now.
But Futures Command, that's a pretty sweet job. I would 100% go work for Futures Command. They're really sweet.
Yeah, you're in Austin, Texas. It's just going to be weird. Those guys are going to be wearing like tie-dye PTs and
dude, I would
walking around with like exposed nipple cramps.
Austin is a pretty sweet city, man. I would love to live there.
I don't know, dude. When I lived at Hood, a bunch of the single lieutenants went down there all the time, and I was just like, I don't know what is so enticing or what draws you to Austin. I mean, clearly they were all interested in the University of Texas, but at 6th Street, walking down there, I mean, the bars are it's just dirty bars, like any college town bars. So outside of the University of Texas, I didn't think anything much of Austin. The food truck scene, like you get that in any weird city. Like every city now is weird, and has its own like weird areas. I feel like everyone wants to be Austin. I don't know. The jury's not out.
I do have some FOMO this weekend because it is the Rogue Invitational in Austin this weekend.
Yes, it is.
Shout out Chandler Smith, crushing it. But I asked Christina if she wanted to go down and see it because we were both off this weekend. It would have been nice to go, check out the Rogue Invitational, but we didn't go, so I have some major FOMO right now.
Well, I mean, it's being streamed live right now on the YouTubes. Speaking of streaming it and these competitions, I started watching, and they've been out, I guess, for a while, the Miles to Madison series.
Yeah.
Way more impressed with the background of how they get all of the events set up and the coordination that goes into it. It is really impressive to see such a large collaborative effort put together these events, stuff that you would kind of assume, oh, that goes on in the background, but to see how detailed they have to get with timing. And I'm still not really fans of their hosts. Like, I think they can do a better job of finding people that I don't know, are like good commentators.
Like you.
But like me, yeah, I should be like, oh, that Annie Thorsdottir, your snatch, that looks weird. Like that bent over elbow bend, like I wouldn't count it, but apparently, Boz thinks it's cool. I should be a commentator, but that would require Dave unblocking me from Instagram and knowing who I am. I'm sorry I called you out for crushing on Brooke Wells 4 years ago. Get over it.
But yeah, I think it's a good series. I kind of like how CrossFit has like almost reinventing the media aspect a little bit more. Um, but I do enjoy that. It's a good documentary, like good series. And then um, I think it's kind of nice how they're like showing some more, like, putting out some more media where like they used to do like all those like Road to the Games series and all
Yeah.
the other like cool videos.
I think what is really cool about that is seeing the road, like you're saying, the road to the games, but how these athletes are eating, how intense their training leading up, how expansive their training regimen is. It's not just the gymnastics anymore, because they're including more endurance-based events, which I absolutely love. Because that was something I complained about, was I'd be a CrossFit Games athlete if I was just good at
Handstand
lifting
push-ups. Yeah.
and burpees. But if it was a test about like swimming and running, whew, like watch out, Matt Fraser, I'd crush you. But I'm liking how they're increasing this aperture of what is fitness to include longer swims, the longer row from last year or 2 years ago, the marathon row. I'm going to be looking forward to one day them doing like a really long bike, not like a crit bike, but like a 50 miler. I could see them including a triathlon one day, or the first workout being a half Ironman. Like that could be a cool partnership branding opportunity. But that would also probably require Noble creating shoes that didn't feel like wooden Dutch clogs on your feet. Um, hashtag we're not sponsored by Noble, so I can say that.
Although I do like Noble shoes. I don't work out in them by any means, but I do like walk around in them. Their canvas shoes are quite comfortable to walk around in.
Yeah, I'm sure Versace is really comfortable to walk around in, but you wouldn't catch me dead running in it. Like
Uh,
that that doesn't work there.
it
I'm
doesn't
just
quite work for
saying
me.
it's a good looking product. It doesn't translate to performance.
No, I agree. Like, I think the CrossFit Games are becoming like I enjoy like the less like classic CrossFitty stuff, like like the snatches and like muscle ups. But I enjoy like kind of the more all around like fitnessy stuff, with, like weird implements and like stuff that you can't. It's hard to replicate, which I think
Yeah,
that's
it's
like
hard to train for.
yeah, like a true measure of fitness. Like like the weighted like odd implements and like all the field stuff. I think it's kind of fun and
Well, they
good
had the
measures.
Rescue Randy one 2 years ago at Madison, where they had to do the obstacle
Mhm.
course that Vellner like dropped from the top of the rope ladder.
Yeah.
I thought Cole Sager crushed that. I thought that was a really cool event. Um, I also just like events that aren't geared towards people that are 5'6". Like I'm sorry, Evolution didn't hit your family gene line, but for the rest of us that are sitting above the 6 foot mark, I don't feel like competing with you because your range of motion is a fifth of mine. That's just unfair.
Dude, speaking of the obstacle course, I saw a video. Rich Froning went to Fort Benning and did Darby Queen.
Oh yeah?
You see that video?
No, I didn't see it because
Yeah.
I was assuming that he was going to be like doing something with muscle milk or something. I've been tuning him out.
Yeah. Well, he has a video that he put out like last week where he was at Fort Benning and did like the Darby Queen, and they visited a bunch of the Fort Benning units, which is kind of interesting.
See, I'm like, so we talk about Rich Froning. I do not like his move to team. I'm still like, that still rubs me the wrong way, because he was such a CrossFit icon, right? For five years, winning multiple individual championships. I get going to team, but CrossFit has gotten so much more competitive since then. It's like I look back and say, oh yeah, Babe Ruth was a great baseball player, but doesn't compare at all to the current athletes. And I know Rich is still training with the same intensity that the individual games athletes are. I wish he would not have like pushed the easy button. And I know it's not easy what he's doing in team, so like don't read into that, but I wish he would have done individual competitions for a couple more years so that he could have solidified that argument between him and Matt Fraser. Like I know LeBron James is a better basketball player than Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan like still came and pushed it as an individual playing with the Washington Wizards. Like he didn't say, "Oh, I'm out," once the, actual heavy hitters like Kobe came around.
Yeah, I do think that Frazier is definitely the goat of CrossFit. It's hard to compare like when Rich Froning was, winning the CrossFit Games. It was back in like 2011 when people were snatching like, the top snatch was like 225, and like now at the games you have like dudes snatching like 300 snatch is like it's like a bare minimum to be a CrossFit Games level athlete. So it's like the field has advanced so rapidly and quickly that it's like you can't really compare, like you're saying, like Babe Ruth in like the 1900s to nowadays baseball. It's like completely different sports, different like levels of fitness and different levels of expertise and abilities. So yeah, you can't really compare them, I don't think.
I disagree on that claim that he's the greatest of all time.
You don't think
I
Frazier is?
no, no. I would say the greatest of all time, and like this is a first. I think it's Tia Claire.
Oh yeah. But I'm talking about the
Like
guys. For guys.
no, well, I would say like in this situation, you could literally make the distinction that just like Serena Williams, greatest female tennis player of all time, but we can't call her the GOAT because she's a female. I legitimately say greatest CrossFit athlete of all time is Tia Claire. Like I wouldn't even distinguish it based on gender there because she could have checked out. She's still doing. I mean, was she a 5-time champion? Like that woman is stupid fit, and but for the physical differences between men and women, I think she crushes with different weight the guys in every single event consistently is in first place. I mean, like Justin Medeiros didn't dominate the CrossFit Games in any way, shape, or form like Tia did from event one on. And it's like the last 5 years, it's never been really close with anyone with Tia. And when Tia wasn't winning, I mean, she should be a 7-time champion, going all the way back to some of the scoring issues with the peg climb that allowed like Katrin David's daughter to stay ahead of her like circa 2000, was it 14 or something?
Yeah.
But she's a beast.
No, that's very true. That's a very true statement. I was watching a Matt Frazier YouTube video, and then in his video, he's like, what did he say? He said something that kind of struck me. It was like, he says, you work hard for like to enjoy yourself in the future, and then I asked myself, is it time to enjoy something like that? Whereas like I've worked this hard to I've sacrificed this much to enjoy myself in the future for an easy future. Is it time for my easy future now? And I was like, I kind of thought
No,
about that. Yeah.
absolutely not. I don't understand where some of these CrossFit athletes, the ones that are especially successful that have a constant revenue stream, like why you would cash out early. And again, I'm not as fit as Matt Frazier is at certain events. I'll crush you in different arenas, but you don't see pro athletes taking this stance, like actual pro athletes. Like Tom Brady is still playing football. So why can't you as a CrossFit Games athlete continue competing until you're 35 or 36 when you can say, okay, there is a physical wall there. As long as you're still the best at the sport, retiring early, again, to me, it signals this like white flag. I don't want to keep competing at this level. So either recognize that you can't compete at that level or don't give me it's time for me to relax. That's bullshit. That is such a bullshit line because no true professional athlete says that in any other sport. It's just the CrossFit world that we get. I mean, like Scott Panchik from Miles to Madison, that dude is at his 9th games. Ben Smith just grinding it out. As long as he could qualify to the games, he went to the games. So it's until you can't play any longer is when you should be able to make that decision, or financially you can't sustain that lifestyle. There was no excuse for Matt Frazier on those lines to check out early.
You don't think that's like a sign of maturity or of self-awareness to be like, I'm like burnt out, I'm done, it's not worth it for me anymore dealing with like the hours of suffering to do something that I don't care about anymore. I think that's like a
Hell no.
sign of
Hell
maturity.
no. I look at having done an Ironman and suffering through that. I look at those professional athletes in that arena and say they've been doing this for some of them a decade plus. And for some of them, they've been dominating it for a decade, but they're not checking out early. I mean, like one of the guys had a heart attack during a race and is now months later coming back. He's one of the top American athletes a year ago, and he's older and he's still doing it. I think if you are a professional athlete, the sign of maturity is I'm no longer competitive, I'm stepping away, or financially, I can't continue doing this because it's turned into a hobby and not a lifestyle that can support my family. But for the CrossFit Games athletes, like Kari Pierce is another one that I guess recently announced her retirement. I just don't understand why you would leave if you're still dominant, if you can still pay the bills. Like, because it just raises questions. If we have another top male come along, until that dude gets dethroned, like there's always going to be a, well, is he more fit than Fraser? Was Fraser more fit than Froning? Like we keep having these because none of these guys stay in long enough to have that tough battle. And when each person is in their prime, or to acknowledge and have the humility of I can be defeated and it's not going to be a check on my ego. Like I think this is more of an ego hit and wanting to check out than a I'm burned out, because professional athletes don't get burned out in the sport that they, quote unquote love.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can see, where you're coming from. I don't know. I just feel like that, CrossFit, as much as they say it's like a professional sport, I don't really think of it that much. It's just like, being really good at working out. I don't know. I don't know. But it's like,
Well, I think that's part of the thing that for me, it takes away from that claim of you're a professional sport.
no, yeah, I
Like
see.
people that want to stay in that professional environment don't leave the professional environment, but for some externality. And if that doesn't exist, like live in that and thrive in that and breathe it every single waking day. But is that also a sign that maybe CrossFit was, maybe here's an excuse for these guys who aren't asking me for my opinion or my excuses for them, but maybe CrossFit's programming was really stale. Maybe they were getting really bored because CrossFit hadn't adapted to include more endurance events, hadn't included some of these weird apparatus that Rogue's now developing for the games that athletes get to have fun with at Madison. Maybe that was something that said, dude, I can only do so many toes to bar and so many muscle ups before I'm done. I'm checked. I can't do anymore. Like maybe that's a reason.
Yeah, I have to imagine that's part of the reason because like the games for what they are haven't necessarily evolved that much, but it wasn't for like the last couple of years, so I don't know how much that goes into it. I can only imagine
It'll,
like how repetitive and mentally numbing like training for the CrossFit, training for competitive CrossFit is because you're literally doing the same movements over and over and over again.
but to play devil's advocate, professional triathletes are only doing three things over and over and over again. Professional track stars are doing one thing over and over and over again. Football players are generally doing the same thing over and over and over again. So, I mean, it's hard. I've not asked him. We're not on speaking terms because we're not friends, although be my friend. I don't know why they step away from it, but I would have enjoyed seeing these individuals. Like I want to see, was it Roman Klenikov or
Uh,
Kalishnikov,
Krennikov,
whatever.
Kalashnikov.
I want to see him go up against the Fronings. I want to see him go up against Ricky Gerard. I want to see Matt Fraser go up against Ricky Gerard, both on SARMs. Like, let's have some, that should be it. Like, okay, CrossFit's clean. But I want to see the true test, just like, Half Thor and Eddie Hall were supposed to box. I want to see juiced up Matt Fraser, Kalishnikov, and Ricky Gerard, SARMs, and that wherever that Greek guy that was ahead in the games last year too, or the Open that
Oh
was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
juicing.
That dude,
Let's get
yeah.
all of those guys together in a real test of fitness.
I don't know what you were saying about like you gonna be friends with Matt Frazier. I don't think I want to be friends with Matt Frazier. I don't think he's like that interesting of a person or necessarily even that good of a person. Some of the stuff he says is like kind of like very like egotistical and also like very selfish. And I think ultimately at the end of the day that's kind of that person he is. Like it's a very selfish person.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I can only imagine that if you were that successful for that amount of time in a community that really only has like a couple of idols, like there's only a couple CrossFitters that people can name. Like even when we would go to CrossFit gyms, you could only name a handful and they're the same ones. So if you have an entire industry that is just admiring you and treating you like some, godlike fixture, I can understand why you might get cocky and, you know, might have a big head on your 5'4" frame. Like that's totally understandable.
I don't know. I would not want to hang out with him. I don't think he's a cool person and would be like fun to hang out with. I just remember like watching some of his videos from like, the OG days when he was coming up, and he was like moving to Cookeville, and he flew to Cookeville and made Sammy drive his truck to Cookeville. I was like, this guy sucks.
Oh yeah, that's not cool.
That goes back to then. So like that, and then that just kind of sets the tone. And then all the stuff about how he's like, the best, and like I just suffer in silence and all this other stuff. I'm like, dude, it's like, not I don't know. I don't think it'd be fun to hang out with. I also was like no personality too. Outside of working out, like no personality.
Yeah, well, he is. I don't know, and he's also one of those dudes that collects guns, and spends a shit ton on guns. And you know how everyone knows how I am on what I think about firearms and collecting guns as toys. Like I think it's stupid. And I know he spends a ton of his money on that. And just like he's probably like, you spend too much money at LL Bean on like shitty zip ups, but here we are. We're at odds. I don't know. I don't want like, he's a terrific athlete. I haven't watched enough of his videos.
His YouTube sucks.
Yeah, I like the Buttery Bros. I love watching their videos and stuff. And I genuinely think like hanging out with them would be fun.
Yeah,
or
I agree.
with that NHL player that they
Brook Life.
they vibe with. Yeah,
who also dates Catherine Davis out there.
The NHL player does, the one that they keep going to his lake house.
Yeah.
Oh, wasn't he dating the Julianne Hough?
I don't know. I think
anyway,
I don't know. This is how
dude,
much. Yeah.
That dude is very cool. Like you can just tell. But even whenever I watch the Buttery Bros stuff and it's starring Matt Fraser, I'm just like, oh my god, this is so boring. Like Noah Olson, not as fit as Matt Fraser, but Noah Olson at least seems like
a good dude.
He'd be down, like good dude that would be nice and would never make his fiance drive halfway down the Eastern Seaboard for him to go work out somewhere. And that dude eats donuts. I don't think Matt Fraser would ever post on the interwebs that he eats donuts.
Yeah, so official stance, Cronus fit, Matt Fraser, not a good dude.
We're not trying to be friends with him. I'm sorry. We are very exclusive with our friending here.
Yeah, Chandler Smith, great dude. We'll do anything for Chandler Smith.
Yeah, and has a much better physique. So, like, there's that better hair. Yeah, better hair too. And most importantly, is a veteran. Put his physical fitness to some good use. And not just, throwing a medicine ball around in his prime. You know what? Speaking of I'm going to have to explain the tangent here. Being physically in shape, which leads to better lethality, which leads to a more imposing physical force, to fighting, beating everyone, not having any fear. I have a big fear right now of this report from like the South China Sea, from Taiwan, from this hypersonic missile. I live across the river from New York. Every single day, I'm just like, is this the day that it's going to get obliterated by this hypersonic weapon? I've got no skin in the game any longer. When I was in the Army, I was like, bring it on. Like, I'll fight anyone, anytime, anywhere, so long as the CONOP is approved 3 weeks ahead of time and we have the right font on our PowerPoints. What the fuck is going on right now with the state of the United States military in relation to China, in relation to Taiwan? We've got John Cena apologizing over the summer to mainland China over his statements on Taiwan. oh, I just want to move away from big cities right now and get a Death Day bunker and just hide.
Very frightening, I agree. It's interesting that I saw that there were like now reports of like American military in Taiwan now too, training the Taiwanese military.
Yeah, I just saw that on Army Times. In fact, I think has
Yeah.
something with veterans. Oh no, that's my phyllo dough recipe for my skillet I'm going to cook later tonight. Yeah, I think like Navy pilots or something are there. Like, and then President Biden coming out and saying, "Oh yeah, we would definitely defend Taiwan." Like, dude, check yourself. Like, please, like for the love of God. I still have friends in the military. That's like a speck or an island. Like, let's not say the quiet part out loud like that.
Yeah, but I think, we definitely have a obligation to defend Taiwan according to the treaties that we signed with them like, 20 years ago. Um,
Yeah.
and I would think that that'd be an even worse position if, China were to go to, invade Taiwan and we just did nothing. We would have then that would essentially like emasculate America on the global stage and say nobody can trust America anymore, and that America's word means nothing.
Well, especially in light of what happened in
Yeah,
Afghanistan, the red
exactly.
line that we had in Syria. But I don't know, you look back on history and you look at like the work that John Foster Dulles started and then expanding that through the Nixon era and Johnson and Kennedy and all the presidents then trying to defeat this, domino effect of communism and then eventually seeing where communism landed up and, you know, the turmoil that it causes. Could you make an argument that like, hey, Russia wants to get Crimea or the Ukraine? I don't care. Take it. China wants to get Taiwan. I don't care. Like, take it. Like these countries, these areas of the world will work themselves out. Like we keep making these other huge superpowers this us versus them mentality. Like they can't have their own potential civil war. They can't have their own internal conflict. It's like we're constantly rushing to quell the growth of these empires to our detriment. We go to Vietnam, lose tens of thousands of people. We cause the death of thousands of Russians in Afghanistan. Like we're playing like these geopolitical games with service members of both countries. At some point, like just don't do it. Like don't fuck with America. You do what you want to do. If we need to respond, NATO, they'll do something or we sanction them. But I don't know, man. Like I'd be pretty upset if like for some treaty that we signed years ago, probably in order to prevent a communist spread. If you look at the history of Taiwan, like would you be willing? I mean, I can't ask you because you're in the military, but it's like I would be very hesitant as the commander in chief to say, yeah, I'm going to go and put American lives at risk for this part of the world that I mean, it's literally like you have to drill through the earth to get to. Like that just seems like like we're shedding U.S. blood on something that, like I don't know, it's like a really touchy subject because you don't want people to suffer around the world. That's the world's problem. I don't want Americans to constantly be the ones footing the death bill here.
I mean, I think it depends on like what, school of thought you subscribe to in terms of like international relations. 'Cause I remember learning about this in like in college about like international relationships and like, the thought of like whether hegemony is more important for global stability, or if you don't have hegemony, like the growth of like these, I guess, challengers to global hegemony will therefore challenge the stability of the country of the world. I think it depends on like what thought school of thought you subscribe to, and ultimately, I don't necessarily think that it is, communism is bad, American freedom is good. I think it's more so like, Western versus, you know, different ideologies, and I think it's more so it's like a Western liberal society versus like um, a controlled, centralized form of government and controlling of people. where that is the ultimate, like fight of ideologies versus like political ideologies, if that makes sense.
No, I absolutely agree with that. I was for a paper I'm reading the Federalist #10 that Madison wrote, and he talks about, a pure democracy versus small and large republics, and especially where we are now, where we're so hyper polarized with a two-party system, and it's bleeding over into how the executive operates, how our judiciary interprets legislation, and then the legislation, trying to restrict or make available different classes of rights to different people. And it's like disconcerting, because it seems like each one of these independent branches of government has grown and kind of has some overlap. But if I was not American, you might look at it and go, that system of democracy is flailing. It's on its deathbed, as we see people, storming the Capitol on January 6th. But more so, people are actively cheering against their country's success based on political affiliation. China, and I'm not an advocate for this, by the way, but like China controls its population. Like, you don't ever really see any reports coming out of China based on their censorship, based on the more authoritarian kind of regime they have. I'm just concerned that, like, just let people play how they want to play in their backyards. Like America, we focus so much time and effort on how bad Russia is, how bad China is. And it's like, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, because our government needs a ton of work right now, from the standpoint of making democracy within our own country more available. We can talk about voting rights, making healthcare more affordable, going and reforming immigration. If you want to secure the borders, we have so many issues that we have to take care of. It just seems like we're being huge hypocrites to point fingers at other nations and be like, oh, but also we should solve their problems, because our model right now is so fucking good. Like, we have no issues. If our democracy was doing great, sure, like, let's go find a problem child to fix. Let's go get a fixer upper down the neighborhood and make it an open concept. But we're not there. So it's just a waste of time, and a really big, it will be a waste of resources and human capital.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that's, I think that's part of the point of why the government, or why politicians do that, is to kind of like draw attention away from, the issues that we have in America, because it's easier to point the finger at like like Afghanistan and say, oh, we have to fix Afghanistan to protect our country. And then you can spin that however you want to create this narrative that, that's like the bigger threat. But that, I think it comes down to, how the narrative in America is such that, it's always going to be like us versus them internationally. And that's just the created narrative in order to, create this like, demand, or create this like mental, almost stress to worry about that instead of worrying about the things that, are probably more important, like the fact, like that are like, 'cause at the end of the day, like, how much is that really going to affect you on the day to day, like every day to day, whereas the fact that, like the democracy and the issues that we face in America is definitely more of a larger threat to your everyday life.
Yeah, like, I was watching a documentary last night on uh the USSR having these like red rooms, and they would take young girls and mold them into these widows, and they would train them to destabilize countries, conduct assassinations, um, and they put these sleeper cells in America, and they would take people like Scarlett Johansson, and they turned her into a killer. So it's like, that's the kind of stuff that I worry about as an American. Where's my taxpayer money going? Are we funding operations like this? Because Scarlett Johansson didn't have a childhood, until she met Colin Jost. It's that kind of stuff. Is that what we want to solve?
Is this Black Widow?
It is, yes.
Okay, I was like, wait a second. This sounds like a movie.
Yeah, I finally started watching it because it came out on Disney Plus. and that's the only like Marvel movie outside of the Eternals, which I hear is awful.
Trash. I've heard it's trash.
I started watching it. It's funny. It passes the Brechtel test by a lot.
Test?
The one where it's how much screen time does a woman have? Is she talking? Is her dialogue based around a male character or driven by a male character? How many instances of like an all-female shot are there? It's like the way to measure screen time to make sure that it's not one of those kind of male-centric movies. But yeah, I mean, it's a phenomenal movie. I say that I'm about 2/3 of the way through. It's funny. The action scenes are good. I saw reports that it was a boring chase film that doesn't have really any good resolution. It doesn't seem like that at all to me. So if you've heard that or read that, I highly recommend going and watching Black Widow, because I think it's Lawrence Pugh or Poe. She was in Fighting with My Family with The Rock. It's a great movie. It's really funny.
That sounds like a pretty woke term. The whatever the scale you just said.
The Brechtel test? Yeah, let me look it up and
Sounds pretty woke.
Let me learn you. I can't spell it either. Brechtel test.
I did see James Bond, the new James Bond, a couple weeks ago.
Bechdel test. Yeah, Bechdel test. And, of course, we talk about a female empowerment action movie, and you're going to switch to James Bond, a character that has only heightened the misogyny within our film culture. I can't believe Daniel Craig's been great. I'm sad to see him go. Okay. The rules known as the Bechdel test first appeared in 1985. So there you go, Bobby. It predates us. Let's see. The rule, two women who resemble the future characters Mo and Ginger discuss seeing a film, and one woman explains that she only goes to a movie if it satisfies the following requirements. First, the movie has to have at least two women in it who talk to each other about something other than a man. Which, yeah, it's also been referred to as the Bechdel-Wallace test. And it inspired Virginia Woolf's essay, A Room of One's Own, which I've never read. I bet if they made gender studies universal at colleges, this would be something that we would have all learned. But nonetheless, the Bechdel test, I think, is a huge pass rate on every scene or the movie in general for Black Widow.
Sounds pretty woke to me. Anyways, James Bond, pretty good. Enjoyed it. Have you seen it?
How was Rami Malek's character? No, I have not.
I actually was not a fan of Rami Malek's character. It was kind of a weird, kind of like not a plot hole, but just like kind of a stretch for his character. I enjoyed this story, and it was very well shot. Ana de Armas is great in James Bond, and I hope she becomes more incorporated in future James Bond movies. I'm also kind of curious.
What isn't she great in?
That's a good point. I have no idea. She's awesome.
Yeah, she used to be great. She was phenomenal in the remake of
Blade Runner.
No, there we go. Yeah, Blade Runner. She was phenomenal. She was phenomenal in Knives Out.
Yeah.
Knock Knock. She was terrifying in.
I don't know what that is.
It's with Keanu Reeves. I can't believe you don't know that.
I don't know what that is.
It's Keanu.
Oh wait, is this the Netflix movie where it's he's the dad and these two girls show up? Is that the movie?
Mm-hmm.
Oh
yeah.
Lame.
And then they kill his friend. It's a terrifying movie. But yeah, she's phenomenal in those movies. But okay, go ahead. Back to Daniel Craig, James Bond.
I enjoyed how the movie ended. No spoilers here. I'm also curious to see who the next James Bond is going to be.
He dies. There's the spoiler.
I spoiled it. Come on.
The movie. Okay, listen. The movie has been out for a month plus. If you haven't seen it by now, I haven't seen it. I still know the ending.
Yeah,
okay? But I hate that we have to do this. Every single time a Star Wars movie comes out, or Lord of the Rings, remake, like we have to act like we can't talk about it for months on end. If you haven't seen this movie yet, like I haven't, tough shit. Like get that. What you know how the movie ends, so what? You're not going to want to figure it out what the 2.5 hours preceding this death scene is going to look like. I'll tell you all of it. I've read the Wikipedia.
My God, what kind of fan are? Anyways,
You're goddamn right.
I've been like a diehard James Bond fan since I was like a kid, so I really like the whole James Bond. I love James Bond, so I'm kind of curious who the next James Bond will be. I really hope it's Idris Elba. I think Idris Elba would be a great James Bond.
I'm just worried he's like too old. Like he's like the Roger Moore kind of age. I wish he would have been maybe like 10 years ago. But I mean, after watching Hobbs versus Shaw, he seems
Yeah,
like he
that's
can
great.
do really cool action stunt stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. I
I'd be
don't know.
interested to see that. But the Daniel Craig ones, the only issue I have with his movies, and it seems like it's a movie arc, it's like a series, is every single bad guy just builds on the previous bad guy. Was, oh, it's Le Chiffre. No, it's this asshole that works for Spectre. Oh, it's not Spectre, it's whatever Remy Malek's character. It's like every single bad guy who seems to be like the most bad guy doesn't realize that he's being worked by another bad guy. It just seems
Yeah,
like silly. Like at what point, where do we find the final boss here on my video game series? Because I'm getting really tired of finding out I'm beating up underlings.
yeah. I mean, that's also like I like this news like the Daniel Craig series James Bond because it like kind of explores like Spectre, like throughout like the decades of James Bonds and kind of give some like origin story to James Bond, which I really appreciated. I just like the kind of the whole story behind it.
Oh, speaking of good movies, Dune.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
I have not seen it yet. Don't fucking ruin it.
Well, you should have read the book, right?
I
Have
read
you
the
read the
book.
book?
It doesn't
Okay, well then
matter.
what am I going to ruin? What kind of stupid comment is that? Don't ruin the
I
movie.
don't
I've
want
read
to
the
hear.
book.
I don't want to get your take on Dune. I'm waiting to watch it in theaters. I don't want to watch it on HBO Max. I think you have to watch it in theaters to really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely. But hey, Bobby,
Yes,
I've
Fear's
read the
Mind Killer.
Bible.
I get it.
I'm about to watch Passion of the Christ, even though I've read the Bible. Don't tell me how it ends.
I don't.
Well, idiot. Dune was great. Like I saw it here. I've got a big ass TV, but I've also got a neighbor on this wall, so I can't jack up the volume. That movie would be incredible in IMAX.
Yeah,
Oh
I really want to watch it in theaters.
my god, what a visually stunning movie, and the acting is great. The Duncan Idaho's character is so like badass in the
Who?
book. Duncan Idaho, Jason Momoa's character.
Oh yeah.
Which, by the way, of all the characters in the Dune series, which we have some like awesome naming conventions, how the fuck did we land up with a guy named Duncan Idaho in space? That seems like the laziest. I've named 600 characters. Shit, one more guy. He's got a pivotal role. Dan Bowl. There we go. There's my creativity. Like it sucks. But his character got such a better send off, has such a bigger kind of influence than he did in the original Dune. The worms are badass looking for scale compared to the weird, like Beetlejuice looking worm from the 80s. The whole movie, though, it's like a long movie. I think it was like 2.5 hours. It was like really good. And was it Peter Skarsgård that plays Baron Harkonnen? That dude is menacing. Like such a good job casting all these characters. The scenes were important. I didn't feel like there was any wasted dialogue. The fight scenes were awesome. The Sardukan, I don't know what the private fighters are for the Empire. Those guys were badass and cool. The only thing I will say about the movie is we're in space. We can travel through space, presumably time now. We've got this really cool technology, yet we're fighting with like swords and daggers. Like I could have taken Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn into this battle. Never explained to them that we have lasers and that we can, travel through literally the air, since they're only used to dragons and horses, and they would have fit right into this character like analysis. They would have had no idea that we have technology. They've been like, "Oh, I have the new sword and I have a new axe." Like, they would have been just as successful as Dave Bautista, who has traveled millions of light years through space. Like, that's a plot hole for me.
I can't watch movies with you anymore.
Because
Just
I'm too
ruin
smart.
movies. Ruin movies for everybody. Just turn your brain
Not
off,
everyone.
dude. Turn your brain off.
I
Turn
love
the
stupid
brain off.
movies, but that one, a phenomenal movie. I still give it like my Sean score. Let's say on the Bechtel test, doesn't pass. So for that, I have to take off at least like half a point. I would still give it like an 8.7 to an 8.8, acknowledging the fact that 0.5 of that is the failure on the Bechtel test.
Really.
So
I heard it. I mean, the critics say like it wasn't that great. I feel like I read some reviews that wasn't that great, but either way, I wouldn't watch it pretty bad. But I want to watch it in theaters. Don't know when I'm gonna get a chance to watch it in theaters though, so that's the issue.
trying to think what the critics though have said that's been like really accurate that I've agreed with.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I'm my own man, Bobby. I will. That should be my next adventure, is reviewing movies for the common man. This movie is good. That's my review.
You have a pretty good YouTube channel. I can imagine you doing YouTube reviews. You could develop a pretty large following.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then, somebody would get really disappointed that I thought that, some recent who's the dude that played Wolverine?
Hugh
Hugh
Jackman.
Jackman. Yeah, that I'm like, oh, what's the movie that he did with Zendaya where he played like the Barnum and Bailey circus dude?
Yeah, The Greatest Showman.
Yeah, people were like, "This is great. This movie
Christina loves
is
it.
the cat's tits. Like, it's great. Movie sucked. Movie was awful. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you're good at playing Wolverine, like as a gritty Wolverine, not like the X-Men, like 2000 early 2000s.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
Wolverine
yeah.
sucked.
That Wolverine did suck.
But I would review that, and next thing I know, I'd have an entire continent coming after me because I bashed one of their, silver screen icons. I'd have all of Australia, which I'm not even sure is a real place, getting pissed at me. I
Oh
can't
yeah.
deal with people hurling didgeridoos at me or throwing boomerang or, smearing me in Vegemite and leaving me for a koala to get, eaten alive. I can't deal with that. I don't want Russell Crowe coming after me, like a fit Russell Crowe, like not a drunken Russell Crowe.
Fat
That's
now.
why I can't start. Yeah, I can't start a YouTube channel because of that.
Yeah, I would, pay my or would spend time watching Sean reviews movies and pop culture, and that'd be actually probably pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, you don't need any like special skill. There's no film school that you can go to learn what I've learned.
This YouTube channel that I'm become a real big fan of.
What's that?
More Plates, More Dates. Have you ever heard of this channel?
No. It's either a fetish eating site,
No.
or it's a lifting one, because plates has two meanings.
Yeah, it's Derek from moreplates.moredates.com. Basically, this dude has a whole series. He basically like it's it's all about PEDs and like steroids. And there's a natty or not segment, and it's actually pretty entertaining where he like pulls up people's like physical physiques and like analyzes them and says, "Oh, this guy probably takes this, blah 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 blah." And he has like pretty funny videos. I'm waiting for him to do a Nick Bear natty or not video.
But where does he get his dates from? Like, I'm expecting this is also partially like pickup game master.
I don't know about the dates, but either way, more plates, more dates. Very enjoyable YouTube to watch. Pretty funny.
Yeah, I'll have to go down that YouTube rabbit hole at some point when I'm not studying. I usually keep a pretty clean like office space. I say that in my very small Jersey apartment. My place is a mess right now, man. I've got like 6 different books here. It is not. It's an eyesore. So once I have that cleaned up, maybe I'll start that YouTube channel.
I've
But I
also
also
been
don't want to get sued by the networks, because people really take what I have to say to heart.
okay. Anyways, another YouTube thing that I began to is like backcountry skiing. Not sure,
Oh,
not sure why, because I'm not that great of a skier, but I really want to start like doing like some, alpine ski or like backcountry skiing. You like skin up like a mountain and ski down it, stuff like
yeah.
that.
There's a great. I think it's called the 50.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah,
yeah. I just got to the
yeah,
last month.
yeah. That's great, man. They where's the last one I watched them go? Somewhere in Idaho or Montana. They did
Yeah,
some
yeah.
cool. Yeah, that's very cool. My buddy that was up at Second Battalion got into skiing, that kind of backcountry style, skinning up, and he was really good. Um, that yeah, it's really really cool what they do. But I can't imagine though spending an entire day trying to just get up to a point on the mountain to ski down like one time, like that's it. Like
Yeah.
that takes commitment, but that's why you watch it, because you just get like vantage points from these mountains that no one else has seen ever.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Also, like how you will die too. I just know if I did like some of these aggressive ones, I would just die.
Yeah, well, I think I want to see that though. Like it's like when you're in a big traffic jam and you get up to the accident. I just wasted 2 hours of my day. Not saying I want to see the body, but I hope this just wasn't somebody having a flat tire.
Dude, I actually a West Pointer died on like a Mount Rainier or last year doing something like that, like backcountry skiing or something. He like died up on Mount Rainier.
Yeah.
Happens all
Was
the
he was
time.
he by himself? Were they by themselves?
I think he was like with an expedition because he like got out of the army and was working as like a backcountry expedition guide or something.
Yeah.
He somehow got like separated from the group and they found him in like the bottom of a crevice like a couple of weeks later.
Oh shit. That's
Yeah,
awful.
yeah. People die on Mount Rainier all the time. I always tell people pretty
Yeah,
sketchy.
I mean, you don't assume anything from it when you look at it, because you're like, oh, I can see the peak. It looks like a gentle walk up. But I mean that's why we used to have like these adventure macho style advertisements for places in Europe, and um, like the K2s and the Mount Kilimanjaros, before people just paid to have people haul their shit up. Um, I think climbing is super cool and I would love to do it, but it's like commercialized for the ultra wealthy. Like you have to have tens of thousands of dollars to take on these expeditions, and it's taken away what that rawness was of it. Like when you climbed Everest, you had to employ 15 people to get your shit up to base camp. Like that's not cool. Like I don't think you've done anything.
Yeah, my buddy, one of my buddies in residency, he climbed Mount Rainier. So that was like $3,000, something like that. A $3,000 expedition. Basically, it was like a 3 day like weekend journey where the first day they like teach you how to do like the mountaineering stuff, like crampons, ice picks, and stuff like that. Second day you like climb up to base camp, and the third day you just climb up to the top. And apparently it's pretty not very difficult. Well, I mean, like not like mentally taxing. You still physically difficult climbing the mountain, but like they do it
Wasn't
all
there
the
a
work
West
for
Pointer
you.
that did either K2 or Kilimanjaro or Everest, um, like raising funds for a nonprofit that he spent for himself, uh, and then like wrote a book about it
Mm,
when
would not surprise me.
he
I
was
don't
at the
know.
old guard, I think. I think now he's running for Congress. In fact, yes. Um, I don't have his name off the top of my hand, but yeah, he's in I guess some trouble with the ethics with the army, because he was filming stuff at funerals in Arlington, um, as part of his like online media presence, like trying to run for Congress, which is why like I don't want to run, because it's just another asshole infantry officer who just like thinks he's so smart, and this guy is just cashing in on a very unimpressive career. It's a
I'd
West
vote for you
Pointer, bro.
still. Yeah, not surprising. A lot of dirt bags
Yeah.
at West Point. One of my favorite pastimes is going on the West Point networking page and seeing some of the shit people write on there. It's like really ridiculous.
It's like a bunch of people pushing LuLaRoe. Like, they're selling leggings, but this time they're, hey, I could be your financial advisor. I'll be your financial, planner. No, absolutely not. I saw how you managed a company's maintenance. Like, I don't want you anywhere near numbers.
All right. Any other thoughts? Any other thing else you want to close out with? I know we're starting to ramble a little bit.
No, watch Black Widow if you haven't. It's a good film.
No thanks.
I can't believe you. We are, you know what? We can't do this anymore. I can't be friends with you because you're just such a hardcore MAGA dude now that we can't even communicate any longer.
I know. I just like the Let's Go Brandon. Which I had to Google what that meant like last week. I was like, what does this Let's Go Brandon stuff mean? Why is this a meme? And I had to figure it, and I was like, oh, that's what it means.
Yeah, it's so dumb that people are just doing stuff to, I think it's one of those, like, you're president of the United States. I didn't like President Trump. I don't like President Trump, but while he was president, like, there's still like there's an ounce of decorum that you need to have for the position. And I'm doing a ton of reading right now on like the executive and executive power, and so many articles in the last 10 years, the way that these law professors at very esteemed universities write is just so, it's not defamatory and it's nothing on the level of libel, but it's inflammatory. It's very inflammatory. And it doesn't identify, like, from a neutral perspective, why someone was bad or good. It's just making like a lot of emotional arguments, whether it's criticizing President Trump, whether it's criticizing President Biden, because you want to take these authors and be like, you idiot. Like, if someone just took the president's name out of this piece that you spent a year writing, I could literally apply it to someone else on the opposite political side. But everyone is just so tone deaf and they're just signaling right now. Sorry, I'm rambling. It's just super frustrating. Like, so like if you're doing the Let's Go Brandon, or just straight up saying, fuck the president, just like, that says so much more about you than it does about anybody. And so, Bobby, that says so much. You piece of shit.
I had to Google it what it meant like last week. I was like, what is this Let's Go Brandon? Too, nighttime. What can I say?
What can I say? You could go work out.
I did. Okay. With that, I guess we'll end it. Unfortunately, I'm working the next 2 weekends, and then it's Thanksgiving week, and so we probably won't be doing this for another couple weeks. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have it back before maybe Christmas.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
So let's hold you over, and hopefully this is the motivation for Matt Fraser to come back into the CrossFit community. Hopefully this does it, and we get to finally see Matt Fraser, Justin Medeiros, Klinikoff, and
they already competed against each other last year
at the games.
Yeah, or 2 years ago. Last year at the games.
No, I thought 2 years ago Klinikoff couldn't go.
No. But like Justin Medeiros and Matt Fraser competed at the games.
Oh, but not like new. I'm not saying, but not new Justin Medeiros winning the.
It was 2 years ago.
No, not the new one. I want to see Justin Medeiros now peak against Matt Fraser, who I know is still in his prime.
All right. With that, we'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.
Later.